What's up, music fans of the internet? I'm Derek.
And I am Kevin.
And together with last week's album, we're bringing you two opinions on the best new music. And this week we're talking about A Dream Outside by Gengahr. And asking and hopefully answering the big question, is a dream outside a heavenly dream beneath the stars or a sleepless nightmare in a poorly assembled leaky tent? Before we go any further, we're going to start things off like we always do, drinking a beer. So cheers, Kevin, and cheers, everyone at home.
Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home. I like your big question. It's clearly Boy Scout influenced.
Potentially. I mean, I might be speaking from, or that may have been sourced from personal experiences. The latter memorable only because, you know, you can never get dry in that sort of situation. But before we digress further, let's tell you about Gengahr. They are a London-based quartet. This is their debut album. They performed at South by Southwest this past year. Unfortunately, we didn't see them. And interesting fact, the band's name comes from their favorite Pokemon character, although spelled differently so as not to infringe upon copyright law. And it's kind of this animal that kind of hides as someone's shadow. And just to know that, I had to do my first research of Pokemon ever. So congratulations to you guys for making me Google that. So without any further ado, let's talk about what Gengahr sounds like. Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I think this album in particular sounds like the Bee Gees have a lucid dream jam session with MGMT and Silversun Pickups.
Nice. I like that. I think Gengahr here sounds like a musical monster lurking in the dark with the psych-rock prowess of Unknown Mortal Orchestra, Glass Animals, and Portugal the Man, along with Bon Iver-esque falsetto vocals. So there is what we think it sounds like. So that brings us to key track. Kevin, what did you have?
I've got number 9, Fill My Gums with Blood. What about you, Derek?
I have Bathed in Light. So why don't you start us off?
These sound, just by title, sound like polar opposite songs, by the way. But yeah, number 9, Fill My Gums with Blood. Don't be fooled by the name of it. It's actually a really catchy track. It opens with these really twinkling guitar pickings, really rackety drums, some subtle whirring synth effects, and falsetto vocals. And the guitar and vocals sort of pair up here and there on the melody and then sort of diverge when it makes sense. I think it's got one of the catchiest choruses I've heard all year. It's bouncy and creepy at the same time and still really smooth overall. Later in the track, there's guitar riffs and effects that really hop in and out to great effect, which is really nice. And the bridge sort of mellows out and strips down before the chorus comes back in a couple times, and then the guitars, drums, and bass all vibe together in a really bouncy swing outro. And again, like I said, this is the sort of catchiest way you can imagine delivering the line, "Fill my gums with blood," in the chorus. So you just got to listen to it for yourself. Definitely check that one out.
All right. Well, thanks, Kevin. And from the dark, I guess we will be bathed in light now, or at least I will be describing the track of that title. This one's number 4. And this one, I thought, kind of to your point earlier, where the really catchy sound with a contrast again, this dark track title. I think this one's the same in that it's a little bit darker despite the lighter themed or alluding to track title. The opening and verses kind of feature these bluesy, chirping electric guitars, swaying bass guitar, and hazy, subtle keys. The chorus features hypnotic floating vocal melody, soft guitars, and more hazy, subtle keys. The drums and bass pick up in intensity in the second verse. The bass guitar in particular getting a little more funky there. And then in the second chorus, there's heavier ambient sounds, which I thought really added to kind of the weird psych rock sound here. And then it kicked right into this instrumental phrase featuring only the bass and drums, which I thought was very cool. Overall, the lyrics kind of, I think they describe this vivid depiction of disillusionment. Some particular lines I really enjoyed, just from the very beginning. He says, "I try being nice, but it's only out of spite. The smug in your voice makes me want to vomit." And then another one in particular, punch on the tongue, heavy smoke inside my lungs, seems every drunk's now a prophet. So just really some of the more darker, some of the darkest subject matter, I thought, lyrically on the album. It was matched very well musically, but still it kind of had silver linings to it. So it's very intriguing to me. Really, really dug this one. All right, so now we're done being bathed in light. Let's talk about best lyrics. Kevin, what did you have?
I'm going with a line from the track Lonely as a Shark, which in and of itself is a really nice title. But the line goes, soft in the middle, melting away, lonely as a shark in a dark room, counting away. And overall, lyrically, throughout the album, as you probably figured out a little bit, it's very sort of creepy vibes and thoughts, usually themed around romance and emotions, and I thought this was a good example of that. And overall, I think the eccentric lyrics really mirror the quirky music really well on the album as a whole. So, what about you, Derek? Which line?
Absolutely. Mine kind of coming across along the same themes, but this one comes from a track called "She's a Witch," and he says, "Stubborn to see through, but there's only one thing I can do without. I listen on repeat to the same shit you've been bleeding out." So really just kind of this build up to this just kind of slam moment that I just really kind of liked. And just kind of hinting at, the person he's talking about, kind of being a sheep following the way, but not saying it specifically. Really liked it. And creepy, just high on the creepy meter. All right, so that brings us to overall rating. And the big question: is a dream outside a heavenly dream beneath the stars, or a sleepless nightmare in a poorly assembled leaky tent? Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I'm going to start with overall rating. On the pro side, I think this is really deceptively catchy. It's a great swirl of great influences and a really good mix of both dark and sweet. The cons, sometimes I thought it was a little too influenced. You get bits of Temples and Alt J and Management and Glass Animals, Unknown Mortal Orchestra, Tame Impala, Silversun Pickups, on and on. And then while his falsetto is great, it definitely fits their vibe, I kind of got to wonder if they rely on it a little too much and how they're going to vary it up in the future. So overall, 4 out of 5, really strong album, especially for a debut, and a great, interesting sound. To answer the big question, is it a heavenly dream beneath the stars or a sleepless night in some sort of crazy tent, Derek? I think it's definitely a dream beneath the stars. I don't know if I'd call it heavenly. It's a bit more of a hallucinogenic trip beneath the stars, if you will. But overall, really strong. What do you think?
Kevin, as far as answering the big question, I'm going to completely agree. I think it's definitely somewhere in between, but definitely more towards the at least Night Under the Stars end of the spectrum. Pros, I actually really agree with you. Kind of interesting sound. I really kind of did the blustery but layered psychedelic rock. I think you make really good points, and sometimes it was too close, maybe some of their influences. The lyrics I thought were kind of weird sometimes. That might not be a bad thing for most folks. I'm just putting it here because it was the only potential downside I could see. And so with that, we're agreeing again on overall rating. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. So there you have it, 4 out of 5s from both Kevin and myself. So that's a combined 8 out of 10. So you really should go check out A Dream Outside by Gengahr. And don't forget to tell us what you think about it as well. And don't forget to subscribe to last week's album. We're bringing you 2 opinions on the best new music. And we'll talk to you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.